Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show this Thursday, August 3rd, 2023. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad to have you guys here. Boy, oh boy, the system is a mess. There's two major problems. The two major problems are the financial system and the war scene. And both are heating up. Both are getting ready to seemingly climax at the same time on each other. And, today we got the bond market. We got the 10-year yield. That's the one we watch the most. That's what all debt's based on. It's the 10-year yield's exploding higher in a massive way. This is absolutely huge. I'm going to tell you about the Fed. Yeah, they watch the markets and they watch the bonds and they watch everything. When they react is when things start to move too quickly for their liking within the financial system. If bonds yields are exploding, or if the market's crashing, like dropping 1,000 points to a day, that's when they react. They don't react on small movements. If the Dow Jones fall or the S&P 500 drop a small amount, like if the Dow drops 200 points or if the S&P drops 40, 50 points or something, they don't react to stuff like that. What they react to is if the market starts to, multiple days starts to drop 1,000 points a day, then they react. And if the bond market starts to move multiple days where it's rising like 10, 15 basis points, then they react. So I'm going to tell you the way the Fed would react to the bond market is yield curve control. Yield curve control is something that they really don't want to do because it again reflects on the dollar. There's a number of factors that are coming into play here where the dollar, its time is getting almost up. They've bought a lot of time with this whole thing that they've been doing. They've made the dollar quite strong. Look at the U.S. dollar index today at 102.57, over 100. They've made the dollar strong for a little while. It's temporary, but what they're doing is there used to be a thing like they used to have on shows, like going back to what was that show called? Was it I forget the name of it. But they used to have a variety show that they used to play back when TV used to be black and white, And they would bring things out like performing monkeys and things like that. They also had something called plate spinners. Maybe this is a little bit before a lot of people's time, You got to be maybe over 50 to understand what I'm talking about, but Ed Sullivan, that was the name of the show. And they used to bring out these plate spinners. And what plate spinners basically used to do in the old days, it was like a juggler. It was a type of juggler where they had these long, thin poles, and they put the plates on top of the poles, and they'd start to spin one plate. And the plate would remain spinning as long as the plate had the momentum of it being spun, but it slowly slowed down, slower and slower, and then it'd fall off the pole. Well, how they used to do it is they used to start one and start it spinning, and then they walk over to the next plate that would be on this pole and start spinning it. And the plate would stay spinning. They get about 30 of them going at the same time, and that's where the entertainment come in, because they'd have to keep going back to the ones they started earlier and keep spinning them. And if they stopped, all the plates would fall down and smash. So they had to run around real quick, keep spinning these plates. That's what the Fed's doing. They've got their finger in all of these different little markets out there and stuff, and they have to watch it all. And when one starts to explode, then they have to run over there and try to get it fixed. If a market starts to explode. Like the last one that started to explode was the banking sector. You saw how quick they had their emergency meetings. But they're spinning too many plates right now. The entire world, it's all contrived. Every aspect of the financial system right now is contrived. And they're not going to be able to do it much longer because all the plates are going to start to fall all at once. They're all starting to slow down and they're all starting to wobble. And it's going to be just too much for them. They're going to have to respond too quickly for it all. We're heading toward an enormous crisis, guys. And when it happens, it's going to happen suddenly. We might be on the verge of it right now. Everything's unstable right now, including the war scene. Taking a look at the war scene here. U.S. announces partial embassy evacuation in Niger. I have trouble pronouncing that. It's in the African country where they're having the trouble right now. Niger, I think it is, isn't it? Niger. Anyway, it's in that country. They're having trouble right now because Russia is extending influence. The people are waving Russian flags. Where did they get all those Russian flags? All the people are waving Russian flags. And they're saying, long live Putin. But where did they get? They're very poor. How did they afford to buy a guy? And where did they get all those Russian flags? The Russians, I'm not going to say they give them to them, but that's where I think. I think the Russians gave them the flag, and the Russians are probably a lot behind this. They're giving them weapons, tell you that much, and other small African countries. They're trying to extend their influence over this area, Russia. And this is making the West extremely angry. French, I guess, has determined that if French citizens become harmed, which there's French citizens there from what I've gathered, that it's on. It's on. So, this is a hot spot again. Another hot spot popping up in Africa for the war. If not to say that there's not other hot spots like Wagner troops moving in close to the border between Poland and Belarus. Oh, that's hot. That's a red hot. And nuclear weapons being moved into Belarus. Aimed where? Where are they aimed? And you know how powerful they are? They're 3 times more powerful than the bombs dropped on Hiroshima in Japan. And I guess they refer to that as just tactical weapons. How much power the big ones got? Up to 1,000 times more powerful than Hiroshima and Japan. Russia has bombs that big, yes. They have bombs that can range as much as 100 megatons. The TZAR bomb that they dropped around 1960 was the most powerful nuclear explosion ever seen on the face of the earth. And it was back before I was born. It was absolutely enormous. I mean, people that were like 40 miles away when the blast went off were like blasted off their feet like 40, 50 miles away. I mean, that thing put off a mushroom cloud that went up into the stratosphere, ionosphere, for crying out loud. It was so big. It was enormous. I think it was just after that they said, well, no more above ground tests anymore. It's just too much power. It'd blow the earth in half, practically the size of that one, the TZAR bomb, when they blew it up. And you can go on YouTube and you can look it up and see pictures of it exploding. Of course, those pictures weren't released for many years, but they are there. They're on YouTube now. You can take a look at the Tsar bomb. Tsar meaning king bomb. It's the biggest bomb ever blown up on the face of the earth. Anyway, so futures are sliding amid global sell-off as the bond rout accelerates. U.S. equities are weaker for a second day amid the global stock sell-off sparked by a rout in U.S. treasuries. See, when yields go up on treasuries, that's when it's crashing. It's inverse to all the other markets. Up is down and down is up with bonds. And so the yields are climbing today, and that means bonds are crashing today. So they say here that it says. Let me see. I saw it here. Maybe it's down a little bit on the page. What they were saying was that it didn't have an effect. The downgrading didn't have an effect upon these bonds or whatever. Yeah, it does. That's the credit rating in the United States, and bonds are the buying into basically the credit of the America. So, I mean, they're not worried that the bonds have become valueless. America will default on the bonds. America's not going to default on them. They're going to cover it. It's just, what are you going to be able to buy with those dollars in the future that the bonds are priced in? People don't really take that into consideration much because they believe a dollar is a dollar and is a dollar. But yeah, that's true. I understand. A dollar is a dollar is a dollar, and it'll always be a dollar. But what can you purchase with that dollar? I'm going to tell you what. Have you been in the stores lately? Have you seen what's happening to the prices? Imagine that getting 1,000 times worse, 1,000 times faster. You've had a taste of it now. If you've been out shopping lately, you've had a taste of it. And, I mean, if I were to go back when I started this channel, it would be more hard for you guys to imagine what we're talking about here. But now that you've had a little taste, right? It's kind of like putting hot stuff in a soup, The wife, she goes out and Martha goes out and she buys a little packet of hot pepper stuff, So she just takes one little pinch out of the packet of these hot peppers and puts them in the soup when she's making the soup for her husband, Oh, it's fine. Martha, this is great soup. I like that little bit of a warmth that's got to it. She says, oh, is that nice? And he says, yeah, it's nice, Martha. That nice little bit of warmth in your soup. I like that. Can you do it again? And she says, well, if you like it so much, I'll make you some more. So the next day, instead of just putting a little pinch in, she dumps half the packet in. Martha, my tongue's on fire! This is the thing. Honest to God, I mean, this is the way with what you guys have had a little taste of the inflation. But the whole packet's going to get dumped in soon. And when you go into the store, you're going to go to Walmart or someplace like that, and you're going to think you're walking through Neiman Marcus. You're going to think you're walking through a diamond store or something for the prices on stuff. And it's going to be going up daily. You go in the next day, it's half again more. That's how runaway inflation. And that's why they call it hyperinflation, not just regular inflation. Now, see, we've experienced inflation now. Now you've experienced inflation. If you've been shopping lately, you've experienced inflation. But you have not experienced yet hyperinflation. It's coming. So do you want to be all invested in these dollars? Because I'm serious, guys. It is going to be unreal. So you say, what do I do? What do I do? There's only one escape. Gold and silver. Especially silver. For the common, ordinary, run-of-the-mill Joe like me. And like a lot of the people that watch my show. I mean, you're not rich mucky mucks, are you? You want to retain a little bit of purchasing power on your savings, don't you? I mean, because it doesn't matter. You could have $1 million right now put away for retirement. It doesn't matter if you got 1 million, 2 million, 10 million. When it's $100,000 for a gallon of gas, they ain't going to cover your retirement. But now if you had bought a lump of silver with that retirement funds or whatever, even if you take people think, the bankers think your hair, they put in these things. I'm going to tell you what they do. They put in these penalties if you remove money from these accounts and stuff. Massive penalties. And they put in a big penalty because they, just like when you go driving your car, Here in Canada, you got to have auto insurance. They put in a massive penalty on the auto insurance. It's like 4 times higher than what you'd pay on a regular ticket for anything else. And also they'll compound your car, and they'll put it in a storage lot or whatever if you're driving without insurance here. And the reason why they do that is to force you into having auto insurance. Well, this is the thing. They force by this. They're going to force you to not take your money out of the bank. They're forcing to keep you in by making massive penalty if you try to remove money from your retirement accounts or whatever to use it for something else. Why? Is because they want to keep you in. Why they want to keep you in? Because if everybody come in and said, we want our money now, the money's not there. They've spent it all. You ever watch that cartoon on where he says, it's gone. It's gone. He gives the money to the banker in the cartoon. South Park. It's a South Park cartoon, And he gives the money to the banker. He says, he types a few keys, and he says, and it's gone. That's it. That's what they've done with all your money. It's gone. What they keep just enough there in a little pool to cover people that are a little bit like going to take the penalty or not. They don't care. They're going to take the penalty. They don't care. They need the money. Give it to me. And they got the money for them. They'll give it to you. You can still get the money, but they're the only ones that's going to get it in the end when the whole thing goes up in smoke. Because in the end, it's going to, when everybody wants their money, it ain't going to be there. And so they're hoping for the big bucks, the end of the rainbow. They're going to hang in there till the end of the rainbow and get the big bucks. And they ain't going to get nothing. And the people that they thought were foolish went in and took the money out and took the big penalties on it and everything. At least they got something. But, get something more if they buy silver with it. It's not one of those things. You're going to buy it today and then sell it tomorrow and make a profit. That's not the way it works. The way it works is long-term holding it as your savings. Looking out into the future when the mines have all mined out all the silver practically, and they're right down to getting only 2 ounces per ton of ore that they have to. Because it used to be they got like 17 ounces out of a ton. Now it's down to 6. Soon it's going to be 4. Then it's going to be 2. And then it's going to be 1. And if you don't believe that's true, the U.S. Geological Survey. The U.S. did a geological survey, and they said that that's what's going to happen. And they did that quite a few years ago. It's going to get right down to where it's like 1 ounce per ton of ore. And then how much is diesel fuel going to cost? And so silver is going to find its place and its real value. And it's going to be exceedingly high, and it's going to keep up with inflation like it always has. Look, going back, if you had $0.25, one of those white ones from pre-1964 that were 90% silver, and you went out to buy gas with it back then, you could buy like a gallon of gas with your quarter back in like 1950 or whatever, with that white quarter. But if you put that white quarter away, which was silver, which most of them all disappeared now, you can still buy that gallon of gas, or pretty much. But you can't, if you had an ordinary $0.25 right now, you can't buy a gallon of gas. Heck, you can't even buy a piece of bubble gum. Anyway, I'm straying off topic a little bit. So we got this. We got all this stuff going on right now. Let's get in there in the markets right now and take a look at what these bonds are doing. Silver price today, 23.55. It's down 11 cents. It's a good time to buy right now. It's just before I think it's going to explode in price pretty soon, because calamity. Remember, I told you the previous show. I said I'm giving it 90 days. Within the next 90 days, something's going to break. After that breaks, and after the repair comes, then we're going to see these prices explode to the upside. And here's gold at 1934. You're not going to be able to purchase this stuff even. Or if you got it, everybody's going to want it. You're going to have, look, if you've got a little nest egg of silver or whatever, there's a time coming very soon where everybody and their dog is going to want it. What you got. You ever had something in your life that everybody else wanted? Maybe it was at Christmas time. You know, and there was that one toy in the store that everybody else wanted. You got in there and you got one. Some lady, she's running across, this is for my grandson. You grabbed it and said, I got it first. And you went home with it, and you got one of them, and it's all in the news, whatever the toy is. But you got one, and everybody wants it. Well, that's the way it's going to be with gold and silver. And that's time is coming pretty soon. Cryptocurrency prices today. What we're looking at is Bitcoin at 29,385, Ethereum at 1846, and XRP at 67.1 cents. Taking a look at the Dow Jones, she's off by 130 points today. 35,155. Taking a look at crude oil today. 80.28 for crude oil. We're up 79 cents on the day, but we had a little drop yesterday, and it was up above 80. It was like 81. Now it's dropped. It had a little drop, dropped it down below 80, but now it's on its way back up again. Bonds and rates today. Now here's where the fireworks are. Look at that 10-year, 4.185. It's up over 10 basis points today. U.S. 30 years 4.3. It's up 14 basis points. They're losing control over the long end right now. It could get a hell of a lot worse if China were to start dumping treasuries and stuff. Gosh only knows. U.S. dollar index is at 102.57, and the dollar's going along sideways today. Quite a little bit of volatility too. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe. You guys have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.